welcome. Thank you for being here. I'd like to welcome my colleague ministers from Aruba, Curacao, as well as the Netherlands for being here as well. We are going to sign the decision list based on our agenda and agreements that we made today. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll turn over to the questions.
I must say that it was 2 days of productive discussions and decision making. You could see even in the end we still continue chatting along and discussing about possible ways to make the cooperation better. I must say that we had various topics which we discussed, but for Curacao I must say that this discussions, one of the more important themes was about the fortifying the border controls, and in that regard, I must say that the islands are cooperating and getting along on this item very well. Obviously, the islands have their financial constraints that dictate how fast they can pick up this item. But on the other hand, all of us reiterated how important it is, and once again decided to put the necessary funds to push our level of border controls to make their, let's say, according to these times. Especially in the light of the Venezuela crisis, it's important for us to fortify our border controls. In this regard, Curacao has been undertaking steps to implement the APA system for October, and I must say that we received from important legislation from our friends from Aruba, which we are working on to make sure that we are on the same level of development, to make sure that we can control our borders much better. One other issue that for Curacao was important regard the same thing against your migration status. In this end, we made a task force who is, let's say, seeing how to fortify the cooperation in this regard, and to also exchange information which is necessary. You can see that especially Curacao, Bonaire, and Aruba are at the front line of this issue, but also St. Martin is facing kind of the same issues. Even though all islands are undertaking their own steps to make sure they fortify their borders, but some sort of cooperation in this regard is extremely necessary to make sure that someone cannot, let's say, flee from Curacao entering Aruba or Bonaire or St. Martin. So in that regard, the task force has an important job to do. Another important step that we, let's say, signed off was the professionalization of, let's say, the public prosecutor's office, which was also an important step, seeing that it's important to, let's say, make the level of the workers better, but on the other hand, make sure that as we are Caribbean islands, the Caribbean aspect of that development is also visible. And I must say that the public prosecutor's office presented a great plan to make sure that this happens over the next years. And so those were 4 points which for Curacao were important. I mean, all of them were important decisions, but I would like to highlight those 4 points. And again, thank my colleague for hosting this important meeting.
Good afternoon. I would start also by congratulating and thanking our colleague, Mr. De Wever, for a very hospitable and fruitful meetings. I will highlight a couple of other important issues that we tackled and we agreed upon. First of all, we signed a letter of intent regarding the cooperation on technological advancements, applications, and software to combat and prevent crime. So I think that's very becoming in this age of innovation and applications and software. Furthermore, we had the opportunity to share our efforts that we are doing to reach to a new prison facility in Aruba, and I know that St. Martin and Curaçao have similar challenges as to budgetary constraints as well. We also shared a pre-concept of law, Voorantwerp van Wet, regarding the introduction of ESTA, electronic system for travel authorization, that Aruba is contemplating to introduce in as early as September. And we shared that concept with Curaçao, St. Martin, and Holland as well. And finally, we also discussed and advanced on the theme of Law Academy to train people that have the expertise then to craft laws, because the speed of government is determined by the speed of introducing new legislation. And legislation is, like I say, the software to a country, and thereby you need people that are experts to draft and craft new legislation in order to be able to update your software as a country. Basically, those are the 4 points, not to be repetitious, regarding what we agreed upon, and I thank once more our colleague the Weaver for the hospitality and the people of St. Martin for the warm welcome. Thank you.
First of all, I'm making a big compliment to the people of St. Martin. I was here last time in May 2018, and it's really great to see how, with strength and perseverance, the island and the people of the island have really made a great recovery operation so far. I was really impressed by that, and of course I was also impressed by the hospitality of Cornelius, who gave us a speech on how indeed all people have been engaged in, well, bringing the island back to where it was. I think today again showed that we're making progress in the cooperation between the 4 countries in the kingdom. This also maybe has to do because the 4 of us started as baby ministers in the beginning of 2018 together, and we're growing and growing, and maybe in the future we'll be considered true adult ministers. But that helps a lot in strengthening the cooperation. The Netherlands is really happy that the police cooperation is developing so well, and we've announced that we will invest in the regional police cooperation under 4.4 million, and we are also very happy about the way the law enforcement will continue to grow between the countries in the region. Also, the baseline, we've been presented with a follow-up plan on the baseline regarding borders, and have all 4 shown commitment to bring that in the next phase. And finally, I think it becomes a tradition that every time we have this JVO, we sign a document which shows the positive intentions that are there. This time it's the letter of intent, but not only the letter of intent, it's also the appointment of the new leader of the RST, Recherche Samenwerkingsteam, and really working good together. A lot of progress. So it was a fruitful visit to St. Martin. Thank you, Mr. Host.
Of course, thank my justice brothers. It's important that when you work together, and this is our 4th AVO together, you really begin to understand each other. Sometimes you have to challenge each other, and then you eventually work together, and then you sign the documents that solidify that we are working together. And I want to say that I couldn't have done it without them and their input. Even when it comes to the RST selection of the head, St. Martin had a member on the selection committee, which shows our input in it as well. The best candidate was chosen, and we will continue to work forward with them. I believe all my colleagues covered the subjects regarding the strengthening of the law enforcement, the cross-border crime and cooperation, the police, the Recherche Samenwerking, with the RC working together in the region, information and data exchange and the sharing and processing of it, the prison system, immigration and refugee policy, the law enforcement council, judiciary, public prosecutors, and the legislation. So these are all areas of where we have found to work together, and I don't need to recap them. I believe what our colleagues have said is very important. The fact that we're trying to also get the prosecutors and the OM, as they say, look more like us, and we call it a professionalization, says a lot, because on Aruba and Curacao they already have some, but in St. Martin we don't. So I think this is another area of, again, showing a lot of maturity, and we look forward to continue working together at the next year video on June 14th and 15th, which will be held in Curacao. And if there are any questions, we open up the floor to do so now.
Excellencies, Mr. spoke of the appointment of the new head of the ROC. Elaborate a bit more on that. Who is this person?
You know better.
Yeah, he's a very experienced police officer from the Netherlands, where he has a very good year of birth, which happens to be my year of birth as well, but that may be a coincidence. He's very experienced in both actual working in the field as well as managing parts of the police force. And the Dutch, the board of the Dutch National Police was kindly requested whether they could, well, really send someone who was of the, let's say, the upper layers of management, and this is a very excellent candidate that is now being appointed.
Do you have a name for it?
Yeah, sure. Mr. Wierda. But I have, because it's a typically Dutch name, you have the appointment decision here somewhere. I can spell it for you, Mr. Helmut Wierda, but it's... Nee, dat is de besluitlijst. Dit is het. Ja. Helmut Wierda. You can photograph the spelling of the name?
Yes.
If you, okay. But really, I think, considering the lessons we've learned from the past, we thought it should be a heavyweight person, so he's a very senior police officer.
I had the pleasure of meeting him this week as well. Jan Schaper brought him around and introduced us to. He's made a visit to each one of the ministers as well, and we will be coming out with some more press release about him, who he is, his background, so that everyone is aware as well.
Ms. Afternoon, Minister Weaver, concerning the legislation being one of the points, can you elaborate on what legislation is that?
That one covers, for example, the evaluation of the judicial kingdom laws, as well as the legislative academy that Mr. Vickers spoke about. We also looked at a possible addition to the advisory tasks of the court regarding Article 47 of the Kingdom Act of the Common Court of Justice. And then the final one was procedures, agreements, implementation, Article 39, paragraph 2 of the statute. So those were four of the legislative topics that we discussed.
There were also talks that they would be introducing some changes to the penal code. Is any truth to that?
Those are going to be handled by the Parliament. Those three, the penal code, the penal procedure code, and book 2 have been sent to the Parliament. The Council of Ministers already approved them. It was sent to the governor sent it to the Parliament. So as soon as they can schedule their first meeting, we have asked them to do so to ensure that we're compliant with the CFATF evaluation that's going to take place. And by November, when we go to that meeting, we want to make sure that St. Martin has all the laws covered and are compliant.
So can we get the changes?
Sure.
Mr. Gopaz, Mr. Wade, I'm with Caribbean Network. I was wondering if you also talked about the situation of the St. Martin prison facility and the lack of available cells, that the police cells are too long used and the lack of rehabilitation in the prison, as it is on the radar of the European Court for Human Rights. So what are you expecting to do about that?
It is. We are expecting to continue with the improvement plan that we have, and then that's going well. We also discussed the reclassing or the rehabilitation as well. We already started with some of the programs, such as the GED course, the English courses, but we're also working with the NEPA, National Institute for Professional Advancement, and with that program, we're going to be teaching them roofing, plumbing, electrical, masonry, and they're going to help and rebuild two of the structures, actually three of the structures that were damaged during the hurricane. Instead of us paying contractors to do it and costing a lot, here they'll be able to build it themselves, get certified, and as well as earn the stipends that they get for working. So that's also another way of the rehabilitation. Recently, a agreement was signed with the prison, the rehabilitation, SAEB, as well as social services, because we want to ensure that once they leave the institution, that the safety net is there for them. So if they need medical assistance, financial assistance, or even legal assistance, they can access that right away. So that agreement has to be fleshed out completely, but the MOU is signed, and we're going to continue pursuing that.
And the lack of cells?
We've already started with that program as well. The Netherlands has approved for us to receive container cells as an interim solution. The idea is that we will have them fixated to our structures, and that would increase our capacity. In addition, we have already engaged UNOPS to evaluate our current prison system and see what else is needed for the future. They have a whole lot of experience doing that. They've done it for the Netherlands before in different parts of the world, and we felt very comfortable engaging them.
And what's the time plan for?
We are awaiting the confirmation from UNOPS when they can start. Once we have that, then I will be able to let you know at a later date.
Mr. De Wever, Aruba spoke of the Legislative Academy.
Yes.
We know that St. Martin has a law program ongoing. How did you make it your business to ensure that the law program is somewhat, at least, entwined with the Legislative Academy of Aruba?
The Aruba University, as well as the University of Curacao, both have law programs. The one with the USM is actually directly connected to the one with the University of Curacao, so we can channel it through that way. That way, we can all benefit from those courses.
Those meetings have been taking place for some time now. What is this one thing, if any, would you say has been achieved during those particular discussions of the four party consultations?
Regarding the
The
legislation,
what has been
our
achieved
meeting?
of importance?
actually everything is important to us. I can't single out one, but definitely everything's important. The cooperation agreements was also going to be reviewed. That's also an area where we think is important.
Glad to hear that, Minister. Holland also made available $4,000, $1 million for Aruba, Curacao, and Bonnet to tackle the situation between the islands and Venezuela. How do you intend to jointly at least utilize that?
To question one, I'll start with the first one. One of the, let's say, things achievements. I would say that for the last 3 years, the police forces of the islands have incorporated very much. The truth is that there are small corps forces, police forces, which need each other to make sure that security of the islands is guaranteed. And in that regard, they came together for the last 3 years and they decided which force would develop what area so they can cover each other. Next to that, another cooperation form was signed through the RST that some issues or some needs that we cannot provide for on the islands will be provided to that form through the Dutch police. So that's a concrete form of cooperation that makes sure that the islands are safer and that makes sure that all of the police forces are up to date and can continue growing. So that's a program that has been going on for 3 years. That is, I would say, a valid way to show what these meetings can bring forward. Your question regarding the Dutch assistant, I would say it's another form of achievement. This discussion has been going on through various channels, also through the Ministers of Justice. The reality that the islands face regarding the illegal migration coming through our direction. I must say that that sum of money was, like you said, for Aruba, Curacao, regarding fortify their borders. Some of it will go to the Coast Guard to make sure that they can patrol 24/7. Which was one of the needs that they began to guarantee shortly on the islands. And another step was to improve the detention facilities for illegal migrants. Up to now, the reality is that the biggest problem of Curacao is not asylum seekers or protection seekers, but it is illegal migrants. And that means that you have to continue to detain those people and send them back. That means that for you to be able to process them, you have to have a detention facility that's up to date, that respects human rights. And in that regard, the sums that were attained or Holland made available, especially in Curacao, helps for us to fortify that area. A detention facility to train people to be able to handle with this situation. So I say that it's another show that this cooperation yields its results.